Now, today on the show, I'm excited to introduce to you truly a versatile talent in the entertainment industry, Monnie Aleahmad. This award-winning actor and filmmaker has built an impressive career that spans from the stages of Chicago to the screens of Hollywood. You might recognize Money from his recent work on Apple TV's The Studio, or his memorable co-star role as Benny Kane on Amazon's hit series Bosch. He's also made his mark behind the camera, directing an episode of HBO's critically acclaimed Barry. Humongous things. But what makes Money's story particularly fascinating, to me at least, is his multicultural background. Born of Persian and African American heritage, he's fluent in both English and Farsi. Like, what? Having spent 6 years living in Iran, that's insane. Insane and amazing. I mean, I need to travel outside of my own bubble. His unique perspective has informed his work across film, television, theater, and even voiceover, I'm sure. Money's talent hasn't gone unnoticed. He's took home the Best Actor Award at HBO's ITV Fest in 2016, and his lead role in Lifelines, a project he also co-produced and co-directed. From martial arts to improv comedy, from dramatic roles to sketch work, this Chicago native turned LA-based artist brings an incredible range to everything he touches. So, whether you know him from the screen or from the theater or improv work or just saying hi to him in the street, get ready for an engaging conversation with someone who truly embodies the spirit of a working actor in today's industry. Please join me in welcoming Monnie Aleahmad. Forth to get you on this podcast has been so amazing. I will just start off with saying, like, I'm a fan of your work. Immediately once I watched The Studio, immediately once your scene is at the end, the very end of like episode 2 or 3, and immediately I was like, you pulled energy away from Seth Rogen, and I was like, oh, okay, and you you say, oh, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I was watching a sports game. I thought I was injured.
Yeah.
I thought like he touched my nose. And he's like, good, go, good. And you're like, but you have to get the ointment. Nope. And it's the quickest, like most 30-second moment that I think I go back to regularly from that episode.
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, IMDb. I was like, who is this guy? And then did the whole stalker thing. I said, okay, Monnie Aleahmad, okay, IMDb, does he have representation? Okay, is there an email here? Okay, IMDb Pro, okay, free trial. Okay, IMDb Pro, email done. Okay, Instagram. Oh, okay, website. Oh, I was like, you made it so easy.
God.
You are like you are the best publicist that you could ever have. And again, I'm just reading up. I feel like I have Googled you for every single day, and so I'm just so in awe of you, your personal trajectory, your career goals, your dreams. I mean, like you grew up in Chicago. Tell me if I'm wrong. Grew up in Chicago, and theater, film. You're very like ethnically ambiguous as well. Like you're half Persian and African American.
You got it.
Then you spent like 6 or 7 years in Iraq and Iran.
Iran, yeah.
Iran.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you learned Farsi there, or I'm sure you learned Farsi there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't learn in Chicago. I mean, you could have, you never. But then you just became fluent in Farsi.
Mm.
Like there aren't enough Oscars for what you've already done with yourself. And then you came back and you were, you've been on every streaming platform, Apple, Amazon, HBO. And so I first want to there's so many ways we can go with this. I first want to start with, how has being ethnically ambiguous shaped your acting experience specifically here in LA? You can go, I'm going to just leave it with that because I know you can go anywhere with that. How has that been for you?
Well, man, that's such a loaded question, I feel like.
Good morning.
Because like honestly, being like looking the way I do is non-traditional in a way, but like I feel like people see me and they I wouldn't say that I'm like not attractive. I think people see me and they're interested, right? But they don't know what to expect. And I have to it took me a really long time to learn that I have to show people and I have to like bring them into like who I am and what I can do because on your standard call sheet is at least like I started acting like in college in like 2003,
Mm.
and back then when you're doing theater and stuff, theater is different. They cast for whatever. It doesn't matter. Basically, you play,
Right. Like, you're a baby.
yeah,
Go.
yeah, exactly. You're a baby, you're an old man, it doesn't matter. In the script, it's like, oh, it's all white cast, but on stage, it's like a cornucopia. It's whatever. But like when you're doing on camera, like you're doing commercials, you're doing TV, you're doing film stuff, it's very different. Like there's the standards are there where and generally speaking, like, we have a lot of racist stereotyping for roles. Most of the lead roles, I think even today, most of the lead roles are probably just white men, and then like the rest of the supporting cast can be whatever depending on, the script and
Mhm.
what they're looking for. But like I realized that like, okay, I need to figure out what is marketable about me and like what the market is looking for. And when I started acting, first off, no one sees me as strictly Middle Eastern,
Mhm.
because I'm mixed, right? And when you're mixed and you're black, they see you as black.
100%.
So it's like, okay, cool. Like, what are the black roles that I can get? And like back then in the early 2000s and stuff, like still the roles were mostly like, you're a gangster, you're a cook, you're whatever and stuff, And so like it's like really getting used to the fact that like, oh fuck, like there is not a lot that is out there for me that is gonna be like a full expression of a human, you
Mhm.
know? So I feel like the challenge of being ambiguous is just that. It's like there is no character that is written as an ambiguous character. Like they're for the most part, like you luck into a role sometimes and they're like, oh, he's ambiguous, but oh, I think he'll fit here. But no one's there writing like, oh, the lead ambiguous, like mixed ethnicity and stuff, so,
Right.
so you are kind of relegated to whatever side roles and like bit parts and stuff that you can get.
Mm.
And I feel like it, even if I was more like traditional black presenting, it would
Mm.
be a much different thing too. Because like, there is like a black cinema, there is like black television, that is very specific, and even that, like, I'm not always what they're looking for. I'm not always the cup of tea, So it is challenging, But at the same time, when it allows me to surprise people, if I am able to a few of the projects of my own that I've helmed that I have either directed or co-directed and starred in or whatever that have probably the things that have gotten me the most success and notoriety, like things that have gone to festivals, got some awards,
Right.
was projects that I had myself that I was like, okay, well, no one's gonna put me in this role, so I need to show people what I can do. So that aspect of it is it's an extra it's a double-edged sword, like the
Mm.
industry is not going to put me in a place, but I can show them something that they've never seen before, so which can open doors, but then it's like, oh, it's just so much more work. Like I don't want to have to do all that work. I want to be an actor. I just want to show up on set. Give me the role that I can get into, but I don't know. It's a whole thing.
I'll thank you for opening that can of worms. I mean, immediately, I mean, you would think that, you're an actor, director, writer, producer, but, all those things, those are individual businesses, right?
Yeah.
You are, you are your own monopoly, right? And you would think that when you come with all this extra experience being, ethically ambiguous, you think it would open doors. It's like, oh, I can see him as this, but to our LA, Los Angeles acting world, it seems to close doors, and it seems to even they really want to put you into a box. I mean, I think of like Lupita Nyong'o, who was in Black Panther, and
Mhm.
in Black Panther 2, she speaks Spanish fully.
Mhm.
People were like, "Is that AI? Is that voiceover?" Even I'm like, guys, Lupita Nyong'o almost had like a thing like you as well. Like, born in Africa, moved to Mexico with her parents when she was little, learned Spanish fluently. I think her parents like sent her to Mexico for like school, learned Spanish. Then she came back to Africa and finished her studies and all the things. So one, we don't believe Lupita Nyong'o knows Spanish. Two, homegirl spent most of her life in Mexico. And
Yeah.
so so I'm happy that again, our people were like, baby, you're trilingual, you're bilingual. Like
Yeah.
let's bring that in there, right?
Yeah.
And so again, you with knowing Farsi, have you ever been hired
Oh,
for your Farsi language, the dialect?
this is
Netflix needs to call you and be like, let's do
yeah.
all Stranger Things, let's Farsi, go.
Man, I wish. So I will say, there's been a few times where I've done roles where I have used dialects like Persian dialects or Middle Eastern dialects that I can do and stuff,
Right.
you know, and mostly for voiceover stuff, right?
Mm.
Because when like the
Of
face
course.
and the voice together is like it's confusing, you know. It's like what, that's new Lupita Nyong'o effect. That's that AI right there, right? But
AI.
I have a few times for like indie projects, you know, done some Farsi speaking roles, but like they're, you know, in production hell. Like I don't know if they're ever going to get finished, you know. So we'll see. But that's also something that like I'm just gonna have to show people. I think we forget, like, you know, the entire entertainment industry, right, is pretty much centered in Hollywood, right, which is in America, which, you know, systemically is extremely racist, you know, and we do put people in boxes, and that's the thing. It's like there's no clear box for me. I apply for any role that I see that comes across that's looking for a Middle Eastern actor, that's looking for
Mhm.
someone that speaks Farsi, and I think one time, maybe two times, I've ever gotten a call back
Mm.
for something that was like, you know, not just some small indie thing, like for some theater stuff too. But I was like, I also know, like, I understand the dilemma, right? If they're trying to cast a Persian family, right, and they want to cast, I'm auditioning for the dad, right, and they're like, oh well, he ain't gonna work with the other kids. Ain't no other kids that look like him that's gonna speak Farsi, you know, right? Or, you know, it's like it's that whole issue, you know. It's like, how do we cast this all together? Even though, like, yo, there's so many ways that you can get around this, you know. But it's no one's looking to make that kind of big leap. They're not trying to make like a big statement on their casting sometimes, you know, which I think is kind of a mistake. But you know, who am I to tell them like what their project should be? You know, like I think a lot of times it's also like the people that are making those projects, they don't come from a multicultural family. Like if you're an Iranian that's living in America, most of the time your family and friends are other Iranians that are living in America that, you know, that have like mostly Iranian relatives and stuff, you know, or Iranian American relatives and stuff. There's like one other. Okay, so we have one famous Iranian black actress, like Persian and black mix actress that I can think of, and that's Yara Shahidi, right? From
Yes.
Blackish, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but she presents black, and no one. They
exactly.
don't give her a Persian boyfriend. They're like, here's this white Asian, like,
Yeah,
go. And people are like, Yara Shahidi, Yara Shahidi. But people say Yara Shahidi like that's a black thing.
yeah,
And we're like, no, that is her own, like her dad or her mom's like full heritage over there.
yeah. Her dad's Iranian. I think her mom's black. I think. Yeah, 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 yeah. And but she doesn't play like a mixed Persian role
Yeah.
like ever. I don't think. You know, I don't think she leans into it. I don't know if she's ever like spoken Farsi on camera. You know, for a project. I don't know if she can honestly. But it would be cool. I mean, maybe we should be working on. Hey, Yara, you watching this?
Yo, right now that we got this on camera, Yara Shahidi, when you watch this, yes, you do what I did. Go on IMDb, call her manager, call her somebody, and
Yeah,
that's your in. That's
yeah,
your in
yeah,
right there. You're like, you are the only one. I'm the only one.
yeah,
I wrote this script. I don't have to direct it. We could
yeah,
get whoever you want to direct.
yeah, yeah.
We could get Ryan Coogler to whatever.
Hey,
I
yo.
wrote this script. It's about whatever the experience is. Would you have a meeting with me? I feel like
Yeah,
it's worth the ask because that is such a domino anomaly
yeah.
to I didn't even know that. I was thinking like I don't even know what I was thinking. I was like, is he gonna tell me that Jeffrey Wright is Persian?
Yo, Jeffrey Wright is like one of my idols. Like I feel
Jeffrey
like
Wright,
he's also like one of my prototypes for like for an actor with an amazing career that's black, you know, like that can do, you know, whatever, you know. Like I've been watching Jerry Wright, you know, Jeffrey Wright
Jeffrey, yeah.
for so long. Jeffrey Wright, like I remember the thing that blew me the way the most, like when I was like younger, I saw him in Basquiat, and I was like, who is this? You know, and then he would just show up in things and stuff. And Jeffrey Wright's one of those actors too, where like if you don't know to look for him, he will disappear in
Hmm.
that role, you know. And so like I love Jeffrey Wright, but like I feel like I could be that kind of actor, you know. But it's difficult because how many Jeffrey Wrights do we have? We got one, you know, and Jeffrey Wright's getting all those Jeffrey Wright roles, you know, as he should, you know.
And those I'll say non-diverse multicultural writers,
Hmm.
if they're thinking of a role, they're thinking, hopefully they're like, they're not writing it as multicultural, but they're like, tone is Jeffrey Wright, and we want to get Jeffrey Wright for this.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright is this, you know? So even touch on that is, what do you feel like Jeffrey Wright or the Jeffrey Wrights of the world that are, what did he do? What are they doing to, we're going into deep water right now, to launch outside of, like you said, like the black cinema roles, right? Like I'm looking at like Forever on Netflix, right? I'm looking, you know, the Tyler Perrys, the Oprahs, you know, even the Ryan Coogler worlds of it all,
Yeah.
right? You and I don't, right? Where do you fit if we put you in Sinners, right? And you fit, like you fit, but in terms of like the camera pans at you, are we gonna go or are we gonna stay in the Sinners of it all, right? Even people looking at Haley Steinfeld like, oh, you're a quarter black, you know? So it just, I feel like it just takes a drop.
Yeah.
It just takes a drop. So again, back to Jeffrey Wright is, what is the formula that he used that got him Westworld, the Batman?
Yeah.
You're in a different caliber lane.
Yeah.
How do you follow in those footsteps that he's already trailed and stepped?
The thing is, it's like trying to that's like me trying to follow in someone's like footsteps in the snow from 3 years ago. The snow is melted, you know, like those steps don't exist anymore, you know.
Wow.
Like that is not, that pathway is gone. There's a completely different path. Like when he was coming up in the industry, he was one of, I don't know, 10, 20 black actors that had the range that could do that kind of stuff, right? And once your foot's in the door and you've already shown that, then the path forward for you is pretty clear because they keep going back to the same pool, right? And when he's one of the 10 that they're reaching for, he's gonna get a bunch of those, you know. And now, like the industry is so different, you know. Like to get that level of notoriety, like it requires something else from me, you know. You can't do that. I can't build the career that Jeffrey Wright built just acting, you know. That it's not enough, you know. You have to have some other presence, some other. You need to gain attention from some other means, you know? Like, so I mean, I'm thinking I have options, you know, like creating content in different ways, like making my own, you know, films or stories or whatever. Like it helps, right? Because it's all eyeballs. Like at the end of the day, the only thing that's stopping someone with talent from being that level of successful is eyes. It's people knowing them, right? Like if the right industry executives that have like access to the roles or the right like casting directors or the right directors, the right writers, the right producers, if they know me and they like me, they will reach out, you know. They'll give me an opportunity. They'll allow me to audition, they'll write a role for me. And it happens like on a small scale. I have a lot of friends that are always putting me in stuff, you know, but they're not at that level yet, right? Where it would be, you know, I'm in the door for the lead on the HBO series, you know, like, you know what I mean? So it takes time. It takes time. And it is about building a community because I can't do that on my own. You know, I can't just be, what I need is I need those people to be friendly with me. I need to know them. I need to connect with them, right? I need Issa Rae to like, to see me, acknowledge me, and then be like,
Money!
Hey, Monnie, I'm gonna put you in this thing. You know what I'm saying? But like, she don't know me. You know, and getting known is difficult. You know, especially like when I approach the career as an actor, as an artist. You know, I'm not approaching it as a celebrity. You know, and the industry has shifted so much where celebrity has kind of overtaken, you know, the I guess the prestige of just being an artist, you know, because you need both. You know, there's, especially when you think about how bifurcated the media is now. Like you have, sure, there's Netflix, there's streaming platforms, there's Amazon, there's whatever, but there's also YouTube and Instagram, you know, and the TikTok, right? And these are all vying for your attention, you know? And if I want to get attention from people, I really, you know, I mean, this is like, I guess for all actors, really, like if we're trying to just be that person that gets the audition, we have to be in front of people's faces and we have to utilize all that stuff, you know? And I will say it's very annoying. You know, it's not the stuff I trained to do. You know, it's not what I want to do. But I like making content. I like doing stuff, especially if it's funny or if it's fun or
Yeah.
if it's, you know, if it's something that inspires me, you know, if it's something about like real life stuff, like about like relationships or, you know, what we struggle with on a daily as just Americans dealing with like an oppressive system that is none of us want, you know, like there's so many problems, you know, and I think it is important to notice that like this is what the shift is happening. Because do you know, like I listen to a lot of the people that are the auteurs that in cinema right now that are like, you know, like Kevin Smith, you know, of like, you know, Mallrats and Chasing Amy and the Clerks and all that stuff, right? You know, Kevin Smith, like when he came up, he was able to self fund a movie, and he sent it to Sundance and it got in. He goes to Sundance and his entire career takes off because no one's doing that at the time, right? Nowadays, everybody and the mama can make a movie with the cell phone in their pocket, right? And guess what, right? If you're not doing it, do you think that anyone that's been like a series regular on a TV show or has like some films and like that have been produced, you don't think that they're doing it? They're all doing it. Everybody. So it's like the technology has made access simpler, right? But it hasn't made it easier because now competition's even more, right? And the competition from up high is even more, right? Like, you know, if you try to make a movie on your own and you don't have no names in it, you know, first off, that's a whole hurdle to getting it seen or watched or accepted anywhere, right? Because like the person, all the people that have names, they're all making their own. You know, so like, am I gonna watch this show with some guy that has done a bunch of guest star stuff, you know, like or co-star stuff, has been in these little things, but nobody really knows who they are? Or am I gonna watch the show that's that guys from Parks and Recreation? You know, it's like, yeah, like that's the struggle. So
Wow.
it's yeah, so it is difficult. It's the media landscape is just so different than what it once was. You know, art has become, it's always been important, you know,
Yes.
but it's not the sole qualifying factor. And I don't think it ever really was, but for a time it was much more like important, you know? Because like, I mean, and to be fair, like I'm out here in LA. I used to try to do the business in Chicago, and there's just not enough like film and TV work, you know? So when I moved out here, I was like, okay, cool. There's going to be more work available. I'm sure I'll book more stuff, which I have, you know? But getting to that level is so much more challenging, you know? Also, I don't know, man. I moved out here in 2017, and once pandemic hit, everything was building up. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm getting more roles, I'm getting more reviews, everything is like, was building up. And then pandemic hit and like everything stopped and it started backsliding. And then we had like the strikes and, you know, all that stuff. Like the world has not really recovered for the industry, and it's been really difficult. And everything keeps changing.
Yeah.
There's no stable ground anymore, it feels like.
I mean, it's like what you said. I feel like it's man, it feels like the octopus that keeps on changing color.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, he's blue. He's purple. Oh God, he's orange. He's orange. Come and take a picture. Oh guys, I can't see him now. He's now
Yeah.
a rock formation
Yeah.
octopus, and he's is he that? Is that a rock or is that an octopus? You know, you're always trying to catch the mouse, and so I guess that brings me into like your belief system, right?
Mm,
You're in Chicago, LA. You know, there's abroad. You know, we know this as actors, and yet we're crazy enough to still be in it with the
mm,
light at the end of the tunnel being like I feel like actors need to tell themselves if you feel the push and the call, continue the path because don't try and think being a doctor or a lawyer is any easier
mhm.
of an uphill battle or of a climb
Yeah.
than you're like I could have been a lawyer by now. I could have had this house by now. There's a whole other community of people that are like, yeah, I'm a lawyer too. You're just in one pond to the next pond. Y'all are directed towards acting and towards film and TV, weird law and getting all the there's a nepotism to that world. So I feel like actors, need to continue to give themselves grace that yes, we did choose an equal, very hard career path and art form, but the piece is knowing that any other business or any other career field you still would have been climbing that ladder. I mean, actors think like my life's the worst because I'm an actor and I'm doing all these things, and it's like talk to the teacher next door to you, being like, "Hey, I heard you being all pissy about being an actor. Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and let me tell you my life. Or I'm a stay-at-home dad, or I'm a firefighter, police officer, or a doctor, or I work at Staples, or I work at the crypto center." You're like, it's just a human experience. And so I want to ask you is like looking at your journey from Chicago theater and LA television film, what's one belief about yourself or your craft that you've had to let go of? And what did you replace that with?
Wow. I think when I was younger in the industry, I thought winning the room and the audition was all you needed to do. Showing people that you can do the work well, that you can perform, that you have an understanding of the craft and of your own tools,
Mm.
right? That you could then present that, and then that would be enough to get you in the room, to get you through the doors, to get people talking about you, to make connections. But like I realized, like it's much more than that. Hold on, hey, my coffee. Hold on one
Yo,
second.
get your coffee. Get your coffee. This is getting good. I was getting good. We gonna need the coffee for this answer. You were going somewhere. You gonna need it. You said nothing like having a prop in the scene. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. So what was happening? The alligators are eating the people. Nothing like having a good prop in a scene.
Hold on a second. That's my agent. What? Spielberg?
Jonathan, gotta cut
Call
this
him
short.
back.
Sorry, casting director. So sorry. So now, T-Mobile, what were you saying?
Yeah. I mean, so like I don't know. Like I feel like my view of the industry has changed so much though. Like I was thinking when I was still in Chicago, I was thinking, okay, cool. I can book as much as I can in Chicago, and eventually one of the coasts will call to me, and then I'll get a role somewhere, and that'll be how it works. But then I realized real quick that they don't know what this is. They don't know what to do with this. The realization of how the world sees me. Actually, this was something that I learned in college, like in a class about diversity, like in like I don't know, 2005, 6 or something like that. I was taking a class about like cultural diversity or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but it talked about like ableism, disability, people with disabilities, like race, ethnicity, like all this different stuff, like gender, and it was just sexuality and just like how America perceives these things. And I had never really thought about stuff that deeply before until that class. And then there were like one of the basic things was the demographics of who I am, right?
Mm.
Because I'm Iranian and I'm African American, right? Iranians are technically Caucasian. So does that mean I'm white and I'm black? Can I claim that I'm white to anyone in the world? Like, because that's what I said. I'm like, well, I'm half white and I'm half black, and they're looking at me. They're like, oh, do you think that you could tell people that you're white and they would accept you as that? And I was all like, shit, no, not at all. Like, like no one would. But I could tell people I'm black and totally accept it, right?
100%.
Right. So in even then, it's like among Iranians that I'm not really like when I see my family in Iran, like they love me, sure they accept me, right? But I'm not Iranian, like
Right.
I'm a little foreigner, you know what I mean, right? So it's weird, right? But oh shoot, where was I going? I went on too many tangents and I kind of confused myself already. Oh, okay. So the class, yes. So I learned that I cannot even claim white, right? I can maybe claim like I'm Middle Eastern in a way, right? But like there's demographics in America are so stupid that it doesn't make any fucking sense, right? So first off, like now I'm realizing that, oh wow, not only do most people only see me as some form of black, right? They have no idea what to do with me. And then when you bring that into the industry, right? It's like these people have no idea what to do with me. So they could see me at an audition, kill something, right? And then they want to cast the people around me, and they're like, we don't know if this makes sense at all, right? Until yeah, so it's a whole thing. But you do get the people that bust through, that are also ambiguous. That it looks like we could be brothers or cousins, But usually they break through in their own way. Like you got
Mm.
people like Daveed Diggs, who is a rapper from like clipping, also actor filmmaker. He was in what's the Hamilton,
Yeah.
yeah. Right, I love Daveed Diggs. I
Yeah.
saw him at like one of the SAG talkbacks to Blind Spotting. I was like, oh yeah,
Wow.
we had a moment. He looked at me in the
He said,
audience. He was all like, "Is that me up there? Is that one of me?" But also now Daveed Diggs is getting the Daveed Diggs roles. They ain't coming to me. Like it's a weird process. So learning that like okay, who I am. In my mind is not who the world sees me as. Adjusting to a little bit more of what the world would accept me as has changed so much of like what I try to do as an actor. and then realizing that, oh, just acting alone isn't going to get me anywhere. And this happened through a conversation with a friend of mine who's very successful. He's done really well for himself. Lamar Morris, we did like college theater together. He's dope ass guy, one of my best buds still to this day. And he had moved from Chicago to New York and then to LA. And his whole thing was like, yo, you have to go to where you want to build, right? Because you can't build an LA relationship from Chicago. And at the time, it was also like, you built, and this is also pre-pandemic thinking. So like, even since then, things have changed, because like when I moved out here, it was like, okay, you come out here, you show up, you go to every event, you go to the parties,
Yes.
you go to the premieres, you go to the whatever, right? And then that's how you make connections. People start to know who you are, and like, I'm a cool ass dude. I dance on the dance floor. You know what I'm saying? I'm fun. I'm funny. Whatever.
Yeah.
I make connections. But all that went away. Like, there was no social interaction after a while. So who am I going to connect with? Like, it's a whole thing, man. So I feel like I have changed so much about my perceptions of what this industry is and who it isn't. But then the industry keeps changing too. So it's like, yeah. So the thing that was like, oh, this, now I got to put on this hat. Oh, now I got to take that off and change it to this. Oh, I got to sew some pieces on this hat so I can see it this way. I got to put on new glass. It's like everything has been changing. So it's like I'm at the point now where I just realize that the media landscape keeps changing. The one thing that you need to have is attention. And however you get that attention, it doesn't really matter. So right now, I'm just trying to internalize that and trying to see what am I comfortable with, and that is also a changing thing. Was I comfortable? Am I comfortable with OnlyFans? Not now. In 2 years, I don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to be the first person to go from OnlyFans to Oscar winner? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Isn't that crazy? It's going to happen. I don't know.
And that will be the day that it will click for everyone. That will click of like, wait a second. This whole time we could have just been doing anything.
Yeah.
And not having to put the blinders on of I'm a singer. I'm a backup dancer. I'm an actor that does comedy that fits in the 21 to 28-year-old bracket. And you're like, wait, I could have been having podcasts and TikTok and trying stand up and just failing at a myriad of things. But you've collected an audience, like you said, an attention where people are like, oh, that's that guy from that very stupid TikTok. Now that very stupid TikTok guy is the lead of this show?
Yeah.
Selena Gomez and Only Murders in the what?
It's kind of devastating, but it's also kind of beautiful in a way, Like
there's no rules, Monnie.
There's no rules. There's no rules. And if there are rules, they'll change. Right?
They'll change, and no one, and I think actor brain, no one is. I love the mom cup. I love it. That's how I use it. That's like a movie. That's everything. I love that. Like no one, and it feels. I don't know if you feel this. Does it feel like people are checking up on you?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're looking at Monnie, and if I do this choice, then they might not hypothetically cast me for that thing that hasn't even. You're just actor games. Just actor games. I gotta keep my hair short because if I do it too long, then it's gonna look like this, and I won't get red like that.
So I don't ask myself too many questions like that. The one thing I try to do is just to be authentic. Like I want to be myself. I want to be like when I am myself, I am 100% myself as much as I can be. I try to go more than that, but I don't know if there is anymore, right? But I feel the same way about like the roles that I play. Like I try to be honest, in character, like I don't want to. I'm not trying to put up a facade for anything, and I think that is what gets you the most amount of success, and it may not get you the success in like a traditional sense. Like it may not make me the number one actor, but like success can be anything, especially in this media landscape. You could be the next Mr. Beast, and you telling me Mr. Beast isn't being authentically himself when he's just, torturing people in like an obstacle course and making billions of dollars doing it? I have no idea. But like no one else could do that but Mr. Beast because he decided that that's what he's going to do. He was going to do crazy things online to make a bunch of money. And that is authentically what he wants to do. right? He might hide other parts of his personality and stuff, but he's just a weirdo, you know? Like that's fine.
A very wealthy billionaire weirdo.
Yeah, that works with a lot of big corporations, and he wants that corporate money, you know. And that's not who I am. I don't want to. I don't care a lot about these corporations, you know. Actually, I kind of despise a lot of them, you know, which is probably also a hindrance to my success in a bit. Like I have a very activist like vein to
And
me.
that's
Like,
who you are. And
yeah,
no one can pretend. I'm sure being someone who is an activist for rights, protections, women, children, diversity, equity across the board, you can smell when someone's faking that
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
get their attention, their followers. When you see certain celebrities or public figures, and I'm like,
Mhm.
ma'am, this is a dog foundation. Do you even own a dog, ma'am?
You know, my thing is this though. Like I have an issue with like if someone isn't talking about the worst things that are happening to humanity, like it's very hard for me to believe that they care about anything else. You know, like in an authentic way, you know? Like if someone never mentions like for example like the genocide that's happening in Gaza, you know, like just the whole Israel Palestine issue. If they're not taking any stance on that, I don't really they're not being genuine, you know, or they're choosing to, you know, and sometimes it's a political move because they need to get this brand deal or they need to make a paycheck, which I understand, but I don't know how much I can respect it. You know, it's difficult, you
Mhm.
know, but it's a difficult landscape, you know, like we do have a political climate and corporate climate that is very captured by money and by special interests, you know, so it's hard to succeed through that. So like even like when I first started posting about like Black Lives Matter stuff, like during pandemic, you know, there was a bunch of people that were like, "Yo, are you sure you want to post this? Because like it could come back to you in a career wise." I'm like, if I can't post about human rights issues, like why the fuck would I care about someone trying to not cast me? You know, like if I make a post that says like, "Oh, there's a genocide happening in Gaza right now, and we should do something about it," and at least raise your voice and say like, "We don't want this," and maybe call a representative or like do whatever you can, you know, send some money if you can, you know, to one of the different causes or different people raising funds, you know, anything, go out in the street, protest, whatever, right? If you can't do that for basic human decency, right, then what the fuck is the point, you know? Like, what is the message you're going to put out in your art, right? If you can't acknowledge, like, humanity in your daily life, then how are you going to put it in your art? You know, like you're going to try to put it in some layers of mysticism so that it'll be, no one will know, but this piece about fairies is really about human rights. It's like, what the fuck is the point? And then no one's going to know, you know? Like, it's kind of sad the way it is. I don't even know how we got here, but
No, but I'm so happy we touched that because I mean, back to it's the thread of being an actor,
yeah,
humanity.
yeah,
How are you gonna play a father, a mother, a friend, a police officer, a lawyer, just a human being on camera
yeah,
without your own human rights, your own humanity. I watch. We can talk about the longest running TV show, Law and Order SVU. How are you going to get a script like that
mm,
and not actually go home affected with
yeah,
what it is, or do the dark work
yeah,
of and the light work?
yeah,
How it's gonna sacrifice parts of you, and you should leave
mhm,
changed and different. How's the audience gonna believe you if you don't believe
yeah.
yourself, if you don't have any taught to the human issues of the world?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're so right because like if you cannot connect to that level of humanity, then like if you can't look at this like villain as we call it, like in the script, and see like, oh, this is something that anyone could do. Like if you can't look at Bibi Netanyahu, right? The probably the most genocidal maniac of our time, right? And think that oh, given if I lived in his everything about me exactly the same, I grew up in his life, I would be him, right? If you don't understand that, right, we're lost. You know, you're lost. Like your
Yeah,
story is going to be some bullshit because he also thinks that he's special. You
yeah,
know, he thinks that he is unique. No other human could do what he's doing or what he has done, and he is like the sole person that is providing some goodness for his people, probably. You know, right? Which is insane, right? He thinks that other people are less than, right? But we're all fucked, right? Given we're all a product of our environment. This is a very Marxist like interpretation of it stuff, but like we cannot escape our environments, right?
yeah.
They shape us. Like
Hmm.
your access to money, your access to love, your access to connection, your access to any kind of like fun or friendship
Yes.
or relief, or your access to like the ocean. Like it changes who you are. And if everything about your life is like, if you are considering who you have become outside of your environment, like you're wrong. You
Yeah.
know, you're wrong about who you are. You know, you think that you were the one that made you this, but it's everything that has built you to this point.
You need to have a podcast. I don't know, but when you're 99 years old, please have a podcast called Captured by Money, and just do that, or be a professor in Cambridge or in Haiti or in Singapore,
Yeah.
because you need to be released. You need to be released and unleashed, because you have it. You
Yeah.
have it, Monty. Monty.
Thanks, man.
I'm not gonna take too much of your time, because I know we this is not gonna be the last time.
Yeah, we could definitely do this again.
Praise God, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to wrap us up with some questions, a rapid fire questions
Mm.
that actually are not mine. Are you familiar with Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton?
Oh, of course. The GOAT.
The GOAT. So these questions are inspired by him.
Wow. All right, let's go.
So it's when I watched that show growing up, I was like, I want to say these questions to actors, and like I want his job.
What a what a guy, man. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Love that. Doing stuff like this is excellent, by the way. Thank you so much for having me on doing this. Like this has been so much fun. But I love doing stuff like this, like having interviews where you have deep discussions with people. I used to do an interview show. Actually, I've done so many different things. You could probably still find it online. I used to do a show called Train Talk with my buddy. He had like a digital projection screen in his studio, and he would make it like move like it was like and he built like a train set.
Oh.
And it was just something that he wanted to do for fun. And so I would just interview people sitting on like this fake train. It was so stupid, but I would just ask deep questions. So it was good. It was so much fun. But keep going. Sorry.
No, that's excellent. I'll have to get into that. So yeah, so these questions are not mine. They're James Lipton inspired. So rapid fire. What is your favorite word?
Ooh, favorite word. Oh, man, that's such a hard question. Favorite word. This is a tough one. Maybe I feel like for meaning it would be like authentic. You know, because like that, I like the thought of someone just having no artifice. It's like, oh, this is just really what it is, you know. But probably like for like onomatopoeia's sake, moist.
La 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 la. La.
It's so funny because it's such a controversial word, but I love the way moist feels in my mouth. I love the way
Wow.
it sounds. I do. Moist. It feels nice. I like the way it sounds. I like the connotation of it. You know, there's something nice about it. You know, it feels like it sounds. Like moist feels like moisture. Some people just don't like moisture, but like, yo, moist is right in the right places.
Wow. Second question. What is your least favorite word?
Sorry. Only because like it's not often
Not
meant.
authentic.
It's not authentic. Yeah, yeah. And people throw it around too much. Yeah.
What turns you on?
Humor. Somebody that makes me laugh. That shit's good.
Let's go. Let's go. What would you say turns you off?
Boring people, like someone that's really boring, or like fear, you know, like yeah, or I would say no, like there's another word. Someone that is like unwilling to try something new, you know, like where you're too set in your own ways. Rigidity. There
Ooh.
we go. Yeah. Yeah. Like babies or kids like laughing or playing, like man, I love it. Love it
Oh,
so much.
that's innocent.
Yeah, yeah. Just the sound, man. Come on, that's like the best.
Yeah.
I will watch like a whole like compilation of like babies cooing or like
Yes.
like that's the best.
Instagram right now is like, we got it
Mhm, mhm.
right now.
No, they're listening.
Hey, listen. What would you say? What sound or noise do you hate?
Hate. Sound or noise do I hate? You know, I I hate intrusive noise. Like if I walk into like a bar or a restaurant and I can't talk at like a regular level because of the noise. I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Like because it's obstructing like a human interaction. You know what I mean? Like I gotta yell. No, no, I can't deal with that shit. I hate that. See, look, if I love dance music, but if there's dance music playing in like a library, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if there's a time and a place.
Like, so what book are you reading?
Well,
What book are you reading? And we're right next to each other.
yeah. Oh my God, dude. Like, why do they do that? Like, you go into a bar or anything, and it's just like it's a scream fest, and you're trying to have a good time. No, forget it. Forget it.
Forget it. What would you say is your favorite curse word?
It's got to be fuck. Like, I say fuck so much. It's just so versatile. Like, you can't beat a good fuck. You know what I mean, eh?
Now tell me, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, see, this is an interesting question because I don't consider myself an artist.
Yes.
And, like, that's broad. Like, I draw, I paint, I do illustrations, I act, all that stuff. But outside of creating art in any form, I also have done like a lot of stuff in education, like tutoring and stuff, and I work with like autistic youth now. Outside of that, I would love to do, honestly, I would love to do something in government, being a politician of some sort, like something that like can affect people in a really positive way, like to help grow community, like as a political organizer, an activist, or like a representative of some sort. Like, I think like that there's no higher calling, I don't think, than something that affects people's lives, like on a one-to-one basis like that. And that's even more than one-to-one. Like, if you're like a senator or a president, a governor, a mayor, oh yeah, that's like, it's a lot of responsibility. But like, also, like, if you're a decent person, you'll do a good job, I think. Yeah.
Let's go. Now, what profession would you not like to do?
Boy, what profession would I not like to do? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that seems pretty cool. Maybe something that would be very isolating. I don't think I would love. I wouldn't want to be an astronaut, Like, it'd be nice to learn about how to do the stuff, but then you got to be up in space by yourself, alone, or like with one other person. No, I don't. I ain't with that.
If y'all don't click,
no, that's done. I'm out.
Jack. And Money! You're like, as you're just like. And my last question I have for you is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the...
You motherfucker.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Monnie, thank you for all of your time, your entire morning. Thank you so much. Again, like your story, your history, there's so many things that we touched upon that needed to be said, that I wanted to ask, that I'm so happy. It was already such a mentorship and a masterclass just to audibly see you and hear you. I just hope and pray that, feel free to use this however you want it. One-to-one right here, you've got a fan, you've got a brother. Like,
man.
Add one to your team, because you're a wonder, you are a galaxy, you're a whole universe in itself. And I pray like so many blessings for you, your lineage, your career, bigger than what you think you have for yourself, bigger than your to-do list. Because we need you. We need you, and we need you.
Thank you. Yo, J-Mo, man, you the fucking man. I appreciate you. Pleasure, sir. Thank you so much, J-Mo. This has been amazing. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
We didn't even talk about the show. We didn't talk about the filming process, about like that kind of stuff at all. But we can do that some other time.
We can do that. That's how I got you. Now,
yeah.
That's just me personally. People, if you watch the show, Money's on it. At ESPN, 7 p.m. nights, 8 p.m. on the studio on Apple TV Plus. Go watch it. He's hilarious. If you want more episodes with Money, comment down below. We'll have an episode 2. That's what we'll do.
Thank you so much, J-Mo. It's been a real pleasure, bro.
Your weekend, we'll be in contact, okay?
All right. I can't wait. Look forward to it. Thanks for reaching out.
Hey, wait, before you go, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. And I just want to say that I hope that you learned something new. I hope that you gained confidence and clarity in the industry that you want to be a part of, and that you were able to hear someone's story and understand that there's multiple ways to enter into an industry. You don't just have to go to college and then you're in your dream job. There's many ways, many stories, many paths, and life is a non-linear path, as is your dream job or your dream career. So I just want to say thank you so much. I hope you guys learned something new. And also, I wanted to say, if you guys need a podcast recorder AI editor, use this one that I'm using right now. It's called Riverside.fm. I'm using it literally right now, and it helps. Not only does it help me, I don't like editing. If you know me, I don't like editing. I don't want to edit. I don't. And so Riverside.fm uses AI to not only edit short social media reels and short social media clips for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, Lemonade, any of them, magic clips inside Riverside.fm uses AI magic to cut all of my long form podcasts into small little clips. Not only does it do that, AI will also edit my entire podcast, which is what I'm doing, because you know I'm not going to be editing nothing. So if you guys are content creators, or you want to start your own podcast, use Riverside.fm. I'll put an affiliate link down below so you guys can try it out. There's a trial, 14 days, I believe. And if you guys like it, continue to use it. But that's what I'm going to be using from this point on. And I don't use anything else other than Riverside.fm. So if you guys, like I said, if you guys want to use it, use the description. Use the link in the description down below. All right? Subscribe, like for more content like this, and let me know who else you would guys like me to interview. I would love to hear their story, their upbringing. Use Riverside.fm down below in the description if you guys are interested in what I'm using. I'll add the link down below to the pole light that I'm using right here. And if you guys want to get this look for any of your YouTube channel or any of your podcasts, anything at all. All right. Have a great one, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.